So welcome everyone to the 2017 St. Francis College Center for Entrepreneurship college-wide pitch. I'd like to first introduce myself. My name is Ida Sanchez-Person-Piri. I'm the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. I'd also like to acknowledge some of our... Ken?
Let him finish up.
Okay.
He will definitely not be getting the award.
So, we have some honored guests here. We have President Houlihan. We have Dean Gray and Dean Bodens. Can we have a round of applause? We also have the chairman of the Management and IT Department, Dr. Dennis Anderson, and Professor Mary G. is here as well. I'd like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Lou Pestina, who is an alumni of the college, as well as a generous donator and supporter of not only the college, but also the Center for Entrepreneurship. He is also chairman of the Center for Entrepreneurship's advisory board. We also have 3 judges. Our first judge is Mr. Mark Noto. If you could just stand up and we can give him a round of applause. Mr. Noto is actually the reason why we're here. He is with Investors Bank. We approached Mr. Noto and asked him to donate or have Investors Bank donate the money to support this pitch, and he very generously did. Mr. Noto joined Investors in 2012 as a senior vice president in the commercials financing unit and was appointed to his current position as head of commercial and institutional lending division in 2014. Mr. Noto has very strong ties to St. Francis. Not only is he a longtime and frequent guest lecturer in our Center for Entrepreneurship classes, but also his daughter is a student here in nursing. Let's give one more. We also have another judge. Her name is Sacred Walker. Sacred is an entrepreneur. Sacred is an entrepreneur. She has founded Kuumba Health Services in 2015. She holds a master's in divinity from Theological Institute. Union Theological Institute. And she is also a graduate of the SUNY Levin Fast Track, where she learned her great entrepreneurial skills. And then we also have Mr. John Devito, who is a serial entrepreneur and currently the CEO of SpeedRoute. He is also a long-time and frequent guest in our entrepreneurship classes, giving invaluable information to our students. I would like to give it to Mr. Lou Pestina, who would like to speak a little bit about.
Thank you, Ida. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here today, and thank you to our impressive panel of judges for donating your time and your talents today to listen to today's pitches. I spent 31 years at the New York Stock Exchange, and I've seen a lot of companies like Twitter and Snap and GoPro emerge from an idea to become a listed company on the most prestigious exchange in the world in just a matter of years. So who knows, there could be a company just waiting to be launched and listed among our pitch contestants today. You never know. An idea can just blossom and take off. But to get to this point, these students needed a fertile ecosystem in which to cultivate their ideas, to be encouraged to take risks, to think not only out of the box, but to imagine that there is no box that can contain their creativity, their ingenuity, and their vision. At St. Francis College, the Center for Entrepreneurism has provided that white space necessary for these artists to paint their business ideas. The center is a catalyst for growing the next generation of entrepreneurs in Brooklyn and beyond. And I think a round of applause is appropriate for the leaders of the center, Dr. Anderson, Ida, and Mary J. In addition, I would like to acknowledge the late Brendan Dugan's vision and leadership in providing funding for the center and the new entrepreneurship minor at St. Francis College, and also acknowledge the current president, Tim Houlihan's continuing commitment and support. So thank you very much. Of course, today would not be possible without Investors Bank. Their generous funding of today's event provides these students with an opportunity to take their pitches to the next level. Investors Bank is not just a financial supporter of this pitch contest. They've been a generous and consistent supporter of the college's scholarship drives, enabling many students to be the first ones in their family to go to college. So I think it's appropriate to give the team from Investors Bank a round of applause today, too. To that end, I would like to introduce to you Mark Noto, a judge today and a vice president at Investors Bank, to talk a little bit more about the relationship between St. Francis College and Investors Bank. Mark.
Just for everybody's notice, I do have a jacket. It is at home. Thank you. It sounds as though Lou actually stole my words. So I'm going to skip my normal program. I've been coming to the well, first off, thank you from Investors Bank and myself for allowing us to. Is this on? You can hear me? For allowing us to get involved with the school in general and in particular this program, the entrepreneurial program, in the fact that when I got out of school or when I was in school and I look at these kids and it's a throwback, the smell of the classroom hasn't changed. The faces haven't changed. Maybe there's some more phones involved. When I get into the classroom, I could see those. But outside of that, it was 34 years ago when I was getting ready to go out into the real world. And for the most part, I had an economics degree, which is kind of a bit airy compared to other degrees. I wasn't the kid that wanted to be a doctor from the age of 2. I got to my 4th year, and I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. And fortunately for me, my entrepreneur program came through a mentorship. My first bank experience, I got taken under the wing of Brendan Dugan. Brendan took me on. Maybe I reminded him of, or I reminded him of himself, getting out of St. Francis at the time. And for the most part, in the next 10 to 15 years with Brendan, and that's a long program, I got to learn a lot about life in general. They were life lessons. They were realistic lessons. And for the most part, college, while unfortunately I didn't go to St. Francis, I went to Fordham. For the most part, the whole college experience was a very book-smart type of experience, and in no way did it prepare me for the real-world experience. And I could tell you, for the most part, the best training I saw out there at the time, and even at Ivy League colleges, was that they prep you maybe for the interview process. As you went out and you were going to sit across some manager at some company, maybe they taught you how to interview a little bit better. But there was nothing available like this program, this entrepreneur program, and I wouldn't be surprised if one day there would be an entire college based around this type of platform where it merges basically the book side of it with the real life experience. And coming in, and I could see by the looks on. I got some good questions the other day in class. Just 2 days ago, we taught. I tried to give them a little bit of insight on what it is to be a lending officer. And to hear these pitches every day of the week. And they come in all shapes and sizes. And it's unfortunate, I could tell you as a banker, and nobody quote me, I don't know if the press is here, but we say no probably 85% of the time to every pitch that comes in the door. So, 15% of them seem to make sense. And the difference between probably those 15% and maybe another 20% is preparation. And having to know what we want to see when we see a loan package. So this is the kind of thing that we're trying to, what I like about the program is I'm coming in and I'm giving it to you as real as possible. And to merge the reality with the entrepreneur's dream. And, this is the small college of big dreams. So the real goal at the end of the day is not to just be a dreamer. It's about how to convert that dream into a reality. And that's what I think this program accomplishes. As a bank, Investors Bank is a community, and we have a lot in common with St. Francis. We're not the largest bank in the country. and St. Francis is by no means the largest college in New York. We're community-minded. We're community-minded, and also St. Francis is community-minded. We've got probably at least, just even in the Brooklyn office, at least 4 employees that are St. Francis graduates. A couple of them are coming in the door late right now, and it'll be duly noted. But we'll let them in because they have the checks. So on behalf of the bank and myself, it's a pleasure to be here today. It's a pleasure to sponsor the pitch contest. We want to congratulate not only the winners today, but everybody who participated both in the program and had a pitch entered in the initial, I think it was 45 or 50 pitches. So congratulations to everybody, and hopefully there'll be even double that amount next year. Thank you very much.
Just to follow up a little bit what Mark mentioned, there were 57 contestants, 57 entries. Let me just tell you a little bit about the criteria. They could be a team of up to 3 as long as they were all current enrolled students at St. Francis College. We were able to narrow that down to 7 teams. We have 5 individuals and 1 team of 2 and 1 team of 3. They will have 4 minutes to pitch, and I want to share a little bit with you that I had them do a draft pitch for me yesterday, and I had a hard time deciding who should win. So I think our judges have a really hard job today, and I think we need them another round of applause for Mark Noto, Sacred Walker, and John Devito. Their job is very, very important, and to show us their support for the students is just incredible to give generously of their time. I would like to start with our first team. Let me just tell a little bit about them before they come up. Now I'm going to butcher names, so bear with me. We have Jonas Vizi and Ogden Antonovich. We're going to call him Augie because I can pronounce that correctly. The name of their company is New York Aquatics Organization. Jonas is a chemistry major and a sophomore, and Augie is a business management and a sophomore. And let's give them a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. So we are the New York Aquatics Partnership. We changed the name a little bit just to more accurately make our name correct. So like Ms. Ida said, that is Ogni Antonovich. I'm Jonas Vizi. We are sophomores at St. Francis College, and we are both members of the men's water polo team here at the college. We originally came up with this idea because both of us have worked in the aquatics for many teams, youth teams in the city for the past 2 years, and through our work we really have realized that our project, our idea, is a huge need throughout New York City. So our slogan, working to grow and promote aquatic activities and fitness in New York City. Our mission is to provide pool space for aquatics programs in New York City by modifying already existing city-owned facilities. These city-owned facilities are only operational 3 months out of the year. They're huge facilities that are honestly really a waste of space at this point. We really think that this is a huge thing we could do by making these things operational year-round, and we're going to talk about how we're going to do that. So this is our first goal pool, Red Hook Recreation Park pool. It is a Olympic-sized swimming pool, one of very few in New York, and only 2 pools in New York are Olympic-sized, operational year-round in the city. This is an example of what we're going to do. So our goal is to bubble a portion of the Red Hook Recreation Pool to make it operational year-round. The pool is only, as I mentioned, only operational during the summer months. This is an example from Belgrade, Serbia, Augie's home. This is the pool unbubbled, and this is the pool bubbled. So this is a really common thing throughout the world. Unfortunately, we don't see it very much in New York City, but throughout the United States, it's very common. So, yes, now Augie will take over.
So every small college pool, like the one we have here, earns annually like $400,000, we believe that our pool will easily earn more than 1 million because we won't have a limited rent time. We would rent it all day. And when the business is up and running,
we believe that our expenses will estimate around $500,000. This will include maintenance, staff, heating, and everything else. We plan to reduce those expenses by employing students as interns and lifeguards. So that leaves a profit of $500,000. We believe that this number will go up as the business develops. We also reach out to possible investors, companies, former athletes, present athletes, and also U.S. Olympic Committee. We offer them a chance to advertise on our bubble, put their name on outside of it in return for some sort of capital investment. This idea is also nice because it's very scalable. If this business idea works, you can implement this business model on all outside pools around the country.
Just to reiterate a couple points that Augie made, our expenses are high. We realize that to start this project, but we have a lot of creative ideas, like Augie said, advertisements on the bubble to offset the costs of the bubble. The Red Hook pool is located about 2 blocks from the BQE, so it is visible from the Brooklyn Queens Expressway. So we believe that's a major incentive for companies to advertise on the outside of the bubble.
we also plan to partner up with the city. They will assume liability and some costs.
So yeah, thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Right on time, 5 seconds extra. So at this point, I'm going to ask the judges. We'll start with Judge Mark Noto to ask our contestants a question.
I have two questions. One's pretty simple. This looks like a permanent structure. It's not. It can't open and close.
Stuff to put on the pool, goals, everything, equipment needed for the pool. As soon as warm weather comes, a few days you take it off. Bubble is very easy to take off, and that's it.
So you do remove it for the summer?
Yeah, you remove it for the summer. You can keep it open. I mean, we can see that after, but we plan to remove it for the summer, yeah.
And the second question is, what is the actual stream of revenue? I mean, you mentioned the schools are making $400,000 a year or billing $400,000 a year for pool rental. I mean, first, you're going to be pulling away from that income from some local schools, I would assume. And are you charging people at the door to use the pool in the wintertime?
The thing
where's
is,
the whole where's the revenue coming from?
we did research. The demand is huge. Local pools can't satisfy the demand to the city. There's so many swimming, water polo, diving, lifeguard groups and teams that search for the pools. We also plan to rent it for public, because college pools don't rent the pools for public, so that's also a huge revenue income. Also, there is an already existing gym and weight room there in the structure, so we can make like a fitness center. They can pay monthly or daily membership, come exercise, and yeah, we plan to as the day goes on, put more expensive prices in the evening, because those are big. It's the bigger demand, and keep it open for public during the day.
And just for everybody who's going to go after you and you, did you figure out how long you mentioned you're going to have a heavy initial upfront expense? How long is it going to take you to recoup the investment?
By our estimates, we believe 2 to 3 years. So as we said, and just to reiterate on Augie's point, this is the local pool that makes $400,000 a year. This would be the size of our pool. So we would be able to have 2-3 groups, 2-3 times the amount of people in the pool at one time. So how it really works is one team would rent a pool of this size at one time, only one team. We could possibly have up to 3 teams in this pool at one time. And to answer your question, yes, we believe 2 to 3 years we would be able to make back all the money that we've invested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, thank you for doing your research and really pulling from your local community. So I have 3 questions as well. So just specifically, you mentioned the overhead costs for, I'm curious about what are the specific overhead costs for heating this in the winter? is what is the transferable, looking at where it's done locally in your community versus in Red Hook? Do you have a sense of that number?
That is a very good question, and that is one of our biggest hurdles we're going to have to face in this project. We believe that, and we have approached National Grid to have us give us estimates of what they believe our costs would be for heating. Right now, we are estimating it right around $50,000 annually. But we're working to get a more accurate number for that.
Got it. And my second question is, you mentioned that the city was going to cover liability costs and know a thing or two about liability and hospitality. So I'm wondering, what is the incentive that the city has for covering your liability costs? What would be their buy-in for being willing to do that in the kind of the changing market we have?
They will take most of the revenue, but in return they have to provide insurance and liability, cover the liability.
Basically, we are providing the structure, we're providing the staff. It's still their facility, and they're still making a majority of the profits.
Got it. Okay. And then my third question is, and this is maybe more of a comment, but be specifically to Red Hook and looking at kind of the changing landscape and how the economy is changing quickly and becoming more profitable in that community, just to look at how to scale it in a way that meets that property value. Like, as the property value increase, is there any way of one of these pools in those neighborhoods that are shifting to become private, where you could have some ownership? Because I'm hearing it, and I was concerned about the revenue when you said the $50,000 and Red Hook changing. I was just curious about, is there the possibility of a private pool possibly being undertaken down the line? Like, what's your forecast for that?
Well, they're actually, the Red Hook Recreation Pool, there's also one in Sunset Park. I believe there's another one in Queens. These were all built during the Great Depression. And so right now our goal is, like we said, it's a scalable business. So we're looking to expand once this pool becomes successful. So we would expand it to other city facilities since we already have the existing partnership with the city. Right now we don't really have any plans to go into private pool. We're really looking to work with these public pools, not only for profit, but also another huge part of this that we didn't really mention was a community asset for people who are able to have an access to this pool, to a gym, to locker rooms year round. I think it would be a great asset for the community.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you.
I like the proof of concept idea about New York City, and I can visualize the scalability. Agi, I have one preoccupation and then one observation. Did you say the word, I guess, my expenses to be $500,000? Did you estimate?
Yes, we're not sure. National Grid didn't give us the exact number for heating.
Okay. So you're still challenging yourself for your proof of concept and the math and the economics to validate your value proposition. I just want to make sure I'm hearing that.
Yes. We're working on getting more accurate estimates for all of our things. Like we said, we approached National Grid to maybe give us a better estimate of heating. We haven't heard back, but we've continued to email them. Others expenses. We've researched other facilities. There are tennis centers in New York City that use the similar structures, and we are also looking into that to have a more accurate estimate of our.
And further strengthen what Sacred said, liability. I think you got to be really careful about the potential liability to the operating company and to the city for these type of situations. But again, I like the idea.
Thank you so much.
So our next contestant is very eager, and her name is Fallon Ramo, and her name of her company is Infamous Vigilante. Let's give a hand of applause for Fallon.
My name is Fallon Ramo, and I'm 20 years old. And ever since I can remember, I've been very driven towards fashion. My mom was an art director for some major department stores in Manhattan, and I was very immersed in the culture from very young. My clothing line, I came up with the name Infamous Vigilante in 2013. I was a senior in high school, and it actually took me 3 years to come up with the perfect logo because I am a very meticulous person, so it had to be perfect. And when I was 7 years old, I had a very tragic thing happen to me. My sister passed away. She was 32 years old, and she had heart complications. And it was very tragic for my family, of course. And 14 years later, I moved out of my house that I grew up in. And my mother found a notebook that was my sister's. And she gave it to me. And it was from when my sister was 16 years old, so that's 1986 it was. And she was much older than me, and I got to meet a part of my sister that I had never known before. And she had drawn hearts all over the pages of her notebook. And this heart in particular stood out to me. And it was a heart that was not like all the others. It went against the grain. Infamous Vigilante is about staying true to your heart and going against the norms. My company, we realize, if you could just go ahead, we realize that fashion has kind of become an elitist culture. And we want to democratize fashion. We want to make it for everybody. And I believe everybody deserves something that's cool. And it's for everyone who sees beauty and has a beating heart. So that's for everyone. We like to recreate fashion. So we paint our clothes and we hand distress them. So we hand paint, hand distress them by us and other artists who are our friends and we like to collaborate with. We upcycle fashion. We spent $5,000. That was our first initial investment. And we spent it on graphic t-shirts, graphic hats, some normal stuff, but then also our one-of-a-kind pieces like we have here. So these are things that are one of one, they're hand-stitched, and everything, like I said, my brand is about, it comes from the heart. I like to personalize everything. We had a pop-up shop, and it was the first time we sold anything, and we made $3,000 in one day. And I think that's pretty amazing for the first time we sold anything. And obviously we have a website and we're continuing to sell stuff. So we haven't made back our initial investment, but we're on the way towards that. And we've only been around for 5 months, and we have a growing Instagram page, and we have big fashion Instagram pages that have about 33,000 followers wanting to advertise our page, or advertise our clothes, which is very cool for us, and it's exciting. And what I would do if I won the money, I would spend it on a sewing machine because I want to work on my business and not in my business. So I want to spend time marketing my business and designing my clothes and coming up with ideas instead of spending my time sewing the stuff and taking hours to sew. Even though it's so easy, it's very tedious. So thank you very much.
I have a couple of questions, and I want to name that I definitely love. You said staying true to your heart and going against the grain. I feel like that is definitely the direction of where the fashion industry is. And we should talk afterwards because I'm going to be in Fashion Week, and I think maybe there's some opportunity that we can possibly look at.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions for you. Who is your target market when you look at what's happening right now in the fashion industry? And there's a lot around being against the grain. Who is your target market, and how do you differentiate yourself from others who are also saying they're doing something on the fashion walkway and someone stumbles forward? That's them going against the grain. How do you stand out amidst that?
Well, I am extreme. I've broken the rules my whole life. I'm the youngest child, and I like to portray that in my in my clothes. Breaking the rules. I don't like to stay with trends. I like to go against them. I notice that trends are important, and I do take notice of them, but I'm not a hype beast. I don't know. If you know fashion, you know what that means. And I follow it because I kind of have to, but it's not what I'm going towards. So I definitely think that I want to portray my energy. Like he said, I do have a strong energy, and I want to portray that in my clothes. And I want people who believe what I believe to wear what I want. or what I like. I want there to be a community almost in my clothing. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Partly. So give me a description of if I am the buyer, right? So someone like me, I have, my immediate thought was, okay, this looks great. It's painted. Is it good for sensitive skin for someone, what's the wear and tear? So that was my immediate thought, like on sensitive skin. So that was one thing. But secondly, paint a picture for me of who your ideal buyer would be. Age, demographic.
Okay, yeah, so probably my age, 21, college student. I believe that I'm a struggling artist. So someone like that who, I don't know if I have a certain race that I'm going towards or demographic. Someone like me, and I have a business partner who doesn't go to the school, but we're both people struggling to make something of ourselves, or not to prove something, but to show that we are worth something. And that's who I guess I'm going towards. I want someone who's like me in the way I think and the way I portray myself. I don't want someone. I want my clothes to help people not to be themselves and to not be shy, and that's what I want.
Okay.
I guess it's a hard question.
No, that's a good one. And last question, if I will, Ida. And my last question is just because you said you made 3,000 and then you are working towards the 5.
Mm-hmm.
What is your price point?
What we sell our clothes for.
Mm-hmm.
So because we have graphic tees that we're going to, because we're very into photography, so we take the photography and we put it on graphics. I took this picture in Florence, and it's a statue, and I edited the picture and I put the heart behind it. So I have other stuff coming out. This was just a small step because we wanted to see how people took to it, and they took to it very well. So it was a good initial start. But this shirt is a little bit more limited, so it's 45. But the normal graphic T-shirts, which are up there, they're 35. And then we have hats for 25, and the hand distressed and painted. It depends on how much work we put into it, because some of the jackets we put a lot of time and, like I said, a lot of sitting there and sewing, and it's tedious work. So it depends on. Right now, we're not looking at any more than like $120 for something, but that's a lot of work. So that's like the one-of-one pieces, though. So I'm trying to make it affordable, but we just got our bootstraps on, so we're trying to not be too. We want to be a medium. We don't want to be too expensive, and we don't want to be extremely cheap. So, okay, no problem. Thank you.
Fallon, now that I'm over my emotion, tell me capital needed and use of proceeds. What are you looking for, and what would you utilize it for?
I'm looking to win the first prize, so that's $1,500, right? So I want to get, like I said, I want to get a state-of-the-art sewing machine. I know it seems so tiny, I don't know, a weird thing to ask for, but I was talking to a professor yesterday, and I want to work on my business. I like to talk. I like to market myself. I like to get to know people, and I want to show people what I'm about versus sitting in my house sewing for 10 hours a day with my business partner and our friends. It's not something that's ideal. So, and that would probably cost about $800, and we're actually going to California this summer to do some more marketing and get our name out there, have family and friends out there, and we would probably use the other half of the money to get to promote ourselves out there and get ourselves going on the West Coast, because I want to be big. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So that's what I hope that answered your question.
I mean, just one comment. This is probably one of the toughest industries you could pick, and I think the innovation here is yourself. It's not the garment. I mean, for the most part, it's taking yourself and putting it out there from a design perspective. And you'll find out, I mean, opinions are like noses. Everybody has one, but they're all a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So you got to find the right audience, and just, eventually, hopefully for your sake, you need to know. I mean, you need to keep that balance between. I mean, you're in your infancy. You're trying to create a label or a presence or once you go out there and you start selling, make sure you match up your production capability with your sales capability. I don't know what your partner is in this, as far as if you're more the design side, they're more of the how do we do this side. But you need to always think about that before you go out. I mean, some of us love to sell, but I've seen businesses where if it's the partners are two salespeople,
Yeah.
and no one is figuring out the backside of it, it normally explodes at a certain point. So just try and keep that in the back of your mind, and eventually figure out how you're going to get this mass produced, or if you need to go the way of a guardian angel or someone who wants to take you into their company as a product line. It may be the way to start if you don't have a lot of capital.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's it.
So our next contestants are our largest group. We have 3 students. One is Julio Silas, who is a healthcare management major, and he is a senior. We have Daniel Fisher, who is a freshman, and he's a business management major. And then we have Charlene Foster, who is a communications major, and we would like to welcome them. They are Slope Studios.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Start now. Go ahead.
Do we have any music lovers? Any people passionate about music? Well, so our idea is Slope Studios. These are the founders. My name is Julio Silas. I am also a musician.
I am Daniel Fisher. I also produce music and create.
And my name is Charlene Foster. I'm a music artist. All right. So, quick question. How many... Actually, hello? No, this don't work. I hold this real quick. My fault. This works? Okay. How many of you guys recognize this? Raise your hand. If you recognize this, raise your hand. Okay, that's a lot of people. Jimi Hendrix, by the way, is a good guy right there. How many of us recognize this? Raise your hand. Okay, CDs, perfect. How many of us recognize this? Raise your hand. Okay, you guys don't know what this is? Wow, that's crazy. All right, and lastly, how many of us recognize this? Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. So I forgot the cassettes, but how many of you know what the cassettes are? Okay, perfect. So I just showed you guys 4 ways in which music has changed over the years, right? From vinyls to cassettes to CDs to USBs to now streaming services. The music industry is a very big business, and according to the RIAA, unfortunately, it's on the decline because people aren't buying physical copies of music anymore due to the World Wide Web, the WWW, or I like to call it the Wild Wild West. It came in and it messed up everything, in my opinion. Streaming services such as YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, and SoundCloud have allowed artists to not necessarily go after that major record label deal and be self-sufficient, get a nice little MacBook from Apple, use GarageBand, create a little track, and upload it to one of these services. The problem is, though, is that major labels have budgets and connections to certain studios that have better equipment, recording quality is more pristine than your MacBook, and it's just overall a better experience. The good thing about it is that anybody can upload music, anybody can be an artist, and anybody can get any music they want to get. But like I said, it has its setbacks.
Just like Charlene said, people can create music on their MacBook and then upload it easily onto one of these streaming sites. But the sound quality isn't just right, and then that's why me, Charlene, Julio, we started creating music in our basement. But we figured that since it doesn't sound right on any of these streaming services, we started creating our own recording studio for the sound to be more efficient, more crisp, and more rich, so the listeners can have a better quality in listening to our own music.
All right, so our vision is Slope Studios, and what we offer top of the line equipment. We're also accessible location where musicians can come in and well, next to like the trains and stuff like that. And we also have a spacious environment to give you enough space to happily record your music. And we also have live recording rooms. We also have a band rehearsal rooms, and we also have a recording room. So we offer 3 different type of services in Slope Studios. And we also, all this, you could contact us at info.slopestudios.com. Oh, well. Time's up. Well, with Slope Studios, we offer 3 different types of services. And our vision is to just enhance music from what it is now. We want to take music to another level, and we want to give you an experience you have never had before from a studio or from any type of, from your basement or anything like that. Well, and this is Slope Studios. Thank you.
Is this being done anywhere else? I mean, the technology is out there, right? It's not you're not developing technology, so you're buying equipment, and I mean, what are you doing differently than another recording studio?
What we're doing different is the fact that more artists, as generations come up, are starting to lose faith in major labels and the connections that they have. We're trying to provide a service that is on the same playing field as a major record label in terms of sound, quality, and efficiency, but give it at a lesser price for a self-sufficient artist. So that way, the artist doesn't have to stress on, I gotta brand myself to go to Def Jam or Interscope and try to get
be an
a deal.
independent.
Basically, yes, and help independent artists.
Okay, thank you.
It's also cost effective as well, because when you go to these big major artists, you're paying about like $300 for like 1 hour, where we can cut it down to $50 an hour, $100 an hour.
Hi.
Hello.
So I love your enthusiasm. I love how organized and how clear your vision is. It sounds like you're being a bridge builder between the gap. It sounds like your niche is between the music industry and independent artists. So I'm hearing that gap. So I have to say, the question that came up in my spirit, of course, first was overhead, because that, just basic around, you said that you were going to be offering a lower price point to independent artists who haven't signed on to a record label. And so I was just curious about what the rates were in comparison. That was my first question. So tell me first about, as I have a couple questions, tell me first about what the overhead is going to look like, and compare that to how much you're actually charging people to use your services in your space.
Well, due to my experience, just knowing recording industries and friends who are aspiring to be in the industry, prices vary, and the most expensive I've seen for studio time, I want to say is $60 an hour, but you have to spend minimum of 2 hours. And I know people who go in there from 2 p.m. and don't get out till 11. Really what it is, and honestly, like I've been in the audio engineering pilots, that, and it is a tedious job, but it's not, there's no reason for it to be that expensive. Because really what you're doing, you're sitting down and recording the artist. Not all the time the audio engineer mixes the track or masters the track even. They send that out and do it, another, whoever is proficient at that. So really, you're really paying for the name. The classic instance of if I buy a Gucci shirt, that's $200, but I can get the same shirt at Jockey for $20, in a sense. And so we're trying to charge, I guess, I think what we're trying to do is charge per song instead of per hour. Because it takes time to develop a song, whereas we can just charge you for a song. So if you spend 5 hours doing a song, it would be $60 for that song instead of $60 per hour.
Got it. Okay. And then my second question is, it seems as though you are bridging a gap for streaming. And when I think of streaming, I think of, record player, you pick it up, you're in Brooklyn, you pick it up in Brooklyn, you go back to New Jersey, that's your geographic region, that's your focus. Now everything is global. And your streaming services are based in people are coming into your specific studio. So if I am a person who's on YouTube in Belgium, are you also going to be able to support them, or is it really you're supporting the geographic that's specific to the region where your studio is located? Like, how do you reach people who are not in your geographic to support their streaming services? That's the part that I missed.
Well, our Slope Studios will be in the Brooklyn area, and we're the geographics is like local artists in Brooklyn. But if people from Belgium wants to come in and we want support and wants to come in, well, I mean, they'll have to travel to Brooklyn. And from there, we'll be able to provide them with the services that they need in order to outreach and to become bigger as artists.
So if an artist who is on the internet wants to strengthen their quality of their music and they come across your website and they are online, is there a way that they can somehow utilize your services to strengthen their music virtually?
Well, due to the rise of, like you said, global and digital markets, now it can get to a point in which you can record a song on any type of audio interface. And once you have that file, you can send it out and through the process of audio engineering, mixing, mastering, and trying to really clear the sound so it's more pristine. They can do that by way of email, because we do plan on eventually in a milestone have an in-house audio engineer, producers, and all that so forth. So once we have those slots filled, people who are in Belgium or Australia can record something there, send it by way of email. We'll charge them a fee to mix and master the songs and everything.
Okay, perfect. And my last question, okay, at the onset, you were mentioning that less and less people are going into the industry because of the fact that there is less buy-in, because so many folks in the industry now are really struggling with whether or not you put something on YouTube, it's actually like intellectual property, right? So what ways are you helping to support that fear? I mean, that's a real fear, and that's a decreasing fear of less and less people, it's kind of less and less people going into the industry because of the fact that they're not feeling like they have any kind of intellectual property rights. So what ways are your company going to be any different than any other company that's, I guess I'm not understanding, if you're acknowledging that that's on the decline, but you're going into an industry that you're saying it's on the decline, I'm trying to understand how you're going to provide a solution for that fear.
With our company, we also wanted to tackle the community as well. So we will open up a program for kids, like probably middle school, high school, and even early kids starting college or transitioning into college, that we will offer a service that they will start to record music or teach them how to play piano, or teach them the technological aspects of recording, or how to record, or what to do in the recording studio. So.
I'll tell you, one thing that I think you guys might be missing out on is, I mean, there's a few key words. You mentioned help, kids, community. Have you contemplated a nonprofit corporate type of status where basically, I mean, I think it'd be a lot easier to raise money. You are trying to provide a service to people that are getting squeezed out, on the top end. We just recently financed something in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, where it's going to be a combination coffee shop / recording studio. So people could come in. It's all non-for-profit. And non-for-profit doesn't mean you guys wouldn't make any money. But, there's a social good. There are a lot of people that would want to get involved from a non-profit perspective and help you guys out if you push the community aspect of it and help some younger people get into the business. So just something to think about. It might be a way to get a quicker jump. You could potentially even get equipment donated. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are possible.
I just wanted to touch back on your question of why we're getting into the industry if it's in decline.
Yes, thank you.
Well, the actual decline is not the industry itself. It's the selling of the physical copies of it.
Right.
But there is more money throughout shows and merchandise that artists do. But the thing about it is, why give the world music that sounds staticky or not the best? Because at least through my experience, I've seen music save countless lives. People who are suicidal, they listen to music and have found an escape. People who are on drugs, they listen to music and found an escape. One of the most, I guess, prominent genres of music, gospel music. People have come to that religion of Jesus Christ through gospel music. So we want to make sure the music that you're hearing is very pristine and really clear, so that even though the physical selling might be down, when you stream it, it will be some of the best music you'll ever hear in your life. But not through like a major label for artists who are struggling. I want to be self-sufficient.
Okay, so now you caught my attention. So pull on that. Pull on that. Thank you. You have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely have. I have a few.
That was helpful.
Charlotte, you opened up the floodgates. You showed a Jimi Hendrix album. I'm going to pose a trick question, but it really sends a message to you. Was he a righty guitarist playing a lefty guitar?
Jimi Hendrix is a lefty.
And he was playing what type of guitar?
He was playing.
He was playing a righty guitar.
Yeah.
Here's the message I'm going to send to you. Homework. Do your homework. Your value proposition is beautiful. You want to enhance music. Do any of you write code?
Coding?
Yeah, program it. Do any of you guys write ones and zeros?
Oh, no.
No. I think as you continue this beautiful dream, that you get a fourth member, that because this is a technological challenge.
There we go.
Okay.
And I love what you're thinking about. I love music. I can't get enough of it. And enhancing the quality, through different protocols. Again, do your homework, and definitely look around for a humble coder.
Thank you.
So our next contestant is Sydney Bell, who is a sophomore here in advertising and communications. Thank you. Let's give Sydney a round of applause.
Thank you. Okay, so can everyone look at this image and tell me what you see? Some of you will say you see a little girl looking at flowers. However, to the client, who happens to be this girl's parents, it represents so much more. It represents a memory in their daughter's lifetime that will last forever. And that is what my business, Sydney Bell Photography, strives for, is capturing moments that will last a lifetime. So a little bit background about Sydney Bell Photography. It was established in November of 2013. So I was junior, senior in high school in Texas, Houston, Texas, where I'm from. And the idea came from me. I was a plus-size cheerleader. I was made fun of. I was the only African-American girl on my cheerleading team. So I didn't have that person to tell me, you're beautiful, you look great. And I feel like I wanted to be that person to give that to younger girls in my community. So Sydney Bell Photography was established. Some problems and solutions that I've noticed that are in the photography industry is that you only get an hour and a half to have a photo shoot with a client. So you don't really know them, you don't really know their story, and you don't really get to have a relationship with them, which I believe is super important when it comes to having your own business. And that's why Sydney Bell Photography provides viewing sessions. And I created viewing sessions to be able to get to know my client a little bit better, show them their work, and get feedback so I know how to improve my photo sessions and how to improve my business. I also noticed that there's a lack of enjoyment when it comes to photo sessions, especially with guys, and with girls, there's a lack of confidence. And as I was saying, my platform throughout the whole business is giving girls and people confidence to love themselves. And so I have makeup artists that come on shoot with me, hairstylists that come on shoots with me, and a little hype squad of a couple of my friends that come out and just say, you look amazing, because everyone needs that. So what makes Sydney Bell Photography different? There's a lot of things that make my business different. However, I want to focus on two that are on my list, and it's post-production, and it's not just a photo shoot, but an experience. With post-production, a lot of photographers go over the top and completely change what the person looks like. That is not my goal. As you can see in the image to the right or your left, what I take pride in is enhancing the natural features of my subject. Not changing their face, not changing what they look like, but enhancing their natural features, again, to let them know I'm beautiful. Also, with these photo shoots not being just a photo shoot, it's an experience. So for the whole day, if you book a photo shoot with Sydney Bell Photography, you will feel like a celebrity. Again, hair and makeup done, hype squad that comes along with you, and just the conversations that I allow myself to have with my clients really makes them feel special. Going on to financials, my initial capital was only $45. Thankfully, my father is a retired photographer. All of the equipment has been passed down, which is great. The only thing that I needed to worry about was a website subscription and props. So bubbles, confetti, picture frames, name it. Yearly income is $14,400. And as you can see on my chart, throughout the months, my rate or my income decreases. And that is due to the weather changing and mainly my focus being that I am a college student. So school is my main focus, but during the summer, when it's nice out, I get a lot of bookings. And my photo shoot price range is $85 to $150. You may say that's very inexpensive, and that's what my niche is. As I said, being a photographer whose target market is younger girls, they want to be independent. They want to be able to book a shoot by themselves. And what's also great about the business is that people book multiple shoots with me at a time. So with that being said, I'm not booking one client and only booking that one shoot with them. People are so happy with the work, they come back maybe 3 shoots a year. So that is my pitch. I had some growth opportunities, but my time is up. But pretty much what I would be asking for is an investment to provide myself with a lighting kit. As you saw on this slide, before and after is through post-production. So if I were to have this lighting, post-production time would be cut down tremendously, and my clients would be able to get their pictures faster.
Sydney, you are wonderful.
Thank you.
You got such a bright future.
Thank you.
You told what the problem was, told what your solution is. You leveraged your hard course from Dad. You should thank him.
Yes,
And,
definitely.
Okay, but being continuing my brutal candidness, scalability.
Right.
If you can clone 1,000 Sydneys, you would conquer the world. But yeah, I'm very confident you're gonna fulfill your dreams.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a question. Thanks. I would just say, don't sell yourself short. While you want to be a low-cost provider, you're talking about a lot of service. It sounded like you're bringing 5 people out with you on a shoot. If you broke it up equally, it probably wouldn't pay for the car fare to get anywhere. So you're so under the market, you could probably move up a lot and still be considered a low-cost provider. So I just think you need, maybe with Dad's advice, you could, I don't know if he's a local, well, no, he's down in Texas, but if you maybe talk to our photographer, because I don't think he's charging $85. He could give you some pricing advice. But yeah, I think you could really, that 14 could have been 28. And without any sweat, I don't think. So good luck.
Thank you.
Great.
And Judge Walker.
Hello.
Hello.
So I loved, you said, capturing moments that will last a lifetime. And I love the intro story. As a woman of Afro-Caribbean descent, the idea that, yes, you are the only one and you want to enhance beauty. I think that that's essential to continue to say that and name that. I think that was powerful to put out up front. And I love that it's about building confidence to take pictures, right? So I think that is brilliant. And so, the question that came up for me, because I know someone who does pop-ups, around, not necessarily photography, but around like makeup. And so I love the pop-up idea. And as well, I wanted to ask, I definitely named like the prices are too low. So I would say maybe more of an ask and a comment would be to always name, this is my original value. This is how much I'm worth, but because I am at the beginning, this is how much I'm offering you at a discounted rate. So that when you move forward, it's not like, oh, now you're scaling, right? You always look at the research about how much goes into it, and and always name your original value first, because you are undercutting yourself, like it's been said. And so off the bat, I asked the same question to myself about, are you paying members of the team, kind of the hype squad, etc.? I also wanted to ask, what is your auxiliary market? I know you mentioned, say for example, like young women who want their pictures taken and they may not always have the funds. But if I am bringing someone on to take pictures at a wedding, I'm a marriage officiant. So if I'm hiring you to kind of come in and take pictures of this, right? Who are the other individuals who are also paying in addition to that individual? What are your auxiliary markets?
Okay, so for auxiliary markets, pretty much everyone is my target market. So if you think about it, families need their family portraits, but mainly portrait work I do. And I'm slowly, when I was showing you all the light, I'm slowly starting to get into athletics. So if I was granted with, the proper equipment to do that, I would be, widening my target market. However, currently portraits, so families, engagements, weddings are a lot, so but engagements, couples, mainly portrait work.
Wonderful. And last question, what is happening right now in the market of photography? What is the direction that it's taken now? Where is it heading? What is the research that you've done telling?
So I've noticed that photography is actually taking a step back. So a lot of, and Instagram has a huge influence on the way photography is changing in our world today, but film is huge. So I actually my dad just purchased software that we share, and it is a way to add more of a filter onto my photos. So if people are wanting older looking photos or more film looking photos, I'm able to do that now, which is awesome. And a lot of lifestyle bloggers are coming out. And I think that's awesome because I get to collaborate with them. So, they say, and for example, I collaborated with an artist recently that makes flower crowns. So I said, hey, maybe if I can take some of your flower crowns, you can make me some flower crowns, we can collab, and you can use the photos for whatever you need them for. So a lot of product photography, lifestyle photography with bloggers, and youth going more towards the film kind of look of photography.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we're going to give our judges a minute or so to tally. I do want to point something out. I don't know if you've gone to many student pitches, but the majority of student pitches are read from small index cards. And if you notice that our contestants have been pushed to properly prepare themselves, and they've done a really good job. So I think just right now, I'd like a hand of applause again. So we have our next contestant is John Rodriguez, and he is a business management major and a sophomore. Let's give a round of applause for John.
All right, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good, all right. Just by a show of hands, how many dog owners or dog lovers are there in the house? All right, a couple. Great. I have a product today that hopefully you guys should like. I've worked really hard on it. The product is called Hound H2O. I am the CEO and the founder. The slogan for our company is H2O for the hound on the go. So our product is for dogs that are on the go. All right, so quick story, background about me. I served in the United States Navy for 7 years. In 2013, I was in Afghanistan on a combat tour. That's where I came up with the idea. As you see here, the Marine is feeding water to the dog in a bottle. That's just not very effective, especially in that type of a situation. So I was thinking of back home, actually. I was pretty tired of my deployment. I was halfway, and I was thinking of my dog and getting back home. And I was drinking water as I was walking, and I figured that there is no way for dogs to drink water unless there's a owner or a handler on their own. So they're very dependent on their handler or on the owner. So I started looking into the idea. I started asking around all the special forces, like their dogs and the handlers, how do they provide water? And their answer was, you're looking at it, bottles. So I got back home, and the problem continued. Even here, you see outside, you see people running with their dogs, and their tongue are just drooling out, sticking out. As you see up there, you have to feed water in a bottle in your hand, and then there's the obvious waste from the bottles. So as I mentioned, these are some of the problems. The inefficient method. Because dogs cannot suck on any type of material, when you give a bottle of water, they're probably only getting half of that just because of the way they absorb the water. So it's very inefficient. It's inconvenient. If you're taking your dog on a run, you have to carry a bottle. You have to carry a pack and bring a bowl. You have to stop. So it's very inconvenient. Health, obvious reasons, dogs cannot sweat the way we do. They can't communicate, hey, I'm thirsty. So you have to be very conscious of the fact that, hey, maybe he's a little thirsty, but because there's no communication, there's a health risk that they might have a heat stroke or heat exhaustion. And then, as I mentioned before, the obvious waste of bottles over and over. This is my dog. It's me, a little selfie. So some of the features that Hound H2O has, it's a pack, basically. It's a book bag styled pack that has a water reservoir on the inside, and it's worn by the dogs. Dogs are very used to wearing packs. They wear harnesses, sweaters, all this type of equipment. So they wear their own pack, and it has a unique nozzle that is located on the front of the dog, on the front of the chest of the dog, and the dog drinks water on his own whenever he wants, without any human interaction. Some of the key benefits is efficient. The dog's licking, it's a pressurized pack, so that when the dog licks the nozzle, that's when it releases the water. It doesn't release water, it doesn't just drool down. As he licks it, it releases a small amount of water that he's able to drink on his own. Environment friendly, obviously he's gonna cut back on bottles. Very little training. Dogs are very intuitive. Once they learn once or twice where the water's located, they're gonna keep going back to it on their own. So my target customer is for pet parents, people who view their dogs as more than just an animal. Hikers, runners, campers, military and policemen. Obviously, special forces, they have a very excruciating job, and the dogs do the same thing, and they require this type of water. So it's very accessible. It's it's definitely needed for them. In regards to financials, I would like to start first with military contracts because I have the military background. I did work with military. I know how the contracting goes. I would like to get a contract with different police departments and military governments, and use that money to leverage against bigger companies like Petco and PetSmart. So I would like to see my product in Petco, PetSmart, Target, Walmart, all these type of stores, and then my own personal website. And then just lastly, so the main reason why I believe my product is going to work, actually I know my product is going to work, is because of the views towards dogs. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, dogs used to stay outside. Now in today's market, they don't stay outside. They're family. They're viewed as kids. A lot of people view their dogs as kids. So I believe that there's an opportunity as the pet department expands, as the pet market grows, it's over $69 billion for this year, that there will definitely be a need for this. Thank
you. John, I know I say this on behalf of everyone. Thank you for your service for our country. Thank you so much. John, I have an English Mastiff, Bailey, 175 pounds. I have the nastiest little Yorkie named after Brooklyn. His name is Rocky Flatbush. Where was the picture of your device?
So currently, I'm still in I'm still working on. I'm still in the prototype phase,
right?
Which is why I need the funding so that I can actually get an engineer to actually produce one. I do have a makeshift one, but I need actual funding to create a prototype. I do have a working one that I have already used.
So you have a schematic of this device?
Yes.
I love the problem you're solving.
Thank you.
And as a lover of animals, it's exciting. And I have no other questions.
Thank you.
This was very interesting, and I love the Mahatma Gandhi quote as a Gandhian lover myself at the end. So I'm a cat lover, so I have to admit I was navigating the dog world here, but I do recognize that you did your research on kind of the gap and the need. Similar line around the invention. Is it would have been wonderful to have seen even the prototype here today. Sometimes tangibles are helpful. What's the competition, and how many times have you tested it so far?
Okay.
The prototype that you have.
Okay. So as far as the competition, my competition would be other accessory companies that are selling products not necessarily similar to this. There are other products that are somewhat similar. You know, there's a pack that the dog wears. It has pouches where you can bring water. But the main difference and the feature that my company offers that no other has is the absolute, you don't have to do anything. Just fill the pack for the dog. He drinks on its own. Every other item that might be out there may be similar. You have to stop, carry stuff, bring stuff. With Hound H2O, you just fill it up, put it on your dog, and you're good to go. You don't have to stop until you run out. And then the second part was?
Has it been tested, and
Yes,
also is there a pack?
I have tested it on my dog. I've also tested it at pet parks as well, at a dog park near my house. But it, like I said, I just because I don't have the funding for it, I don't have money to pay for to get it created. But I kind of bought materials with my own money. I bought a pack, tubing and stuff like that, and it has worked. Like I said, dogs are very intuitive. Once they drink water once or twice, they just know it's there, so they'll go back to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's a great idea. As everybody said, I think if I would have even, if I saw it, maybe one or two of my numbers might be a little bit higher on the scorecard, but a picture or a is worth 1,000. Is this?
That's why.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of once you get it done, and I mean, you've been in the classes. I mean, you've heard. I think the Cullen and Dyckman people have been in to talk about patents and protecting your idea, and I think you need to go through that phase, and it's a long phase. But once you've done that the correct way, there's a lot of ways to get something like this out there. I mean, you could sell it out. You could sell the idea outright. To one of those as seen on TV type operations and just cash out, or you could try and do it yourself, which is probably the hardest model. So it's definitely something I would invest in.
Thank you.
So our next presenters are Michael Kantaris and Marco Messina, and they are both seniors, and they are both management and IT majors. A round of applause for these two contestants.
What's up, everybody? I'm Marco Messina.
And I'm Michael Kantaris.
And we are Italian Football TV.
IFTV for sure.
We are a social media company that creates content about the thing we are most passionate about in our lives. The reason we wake up every day and the reason the blood flows through our veins. Italian football, or soccer, as we like to call it here in America. We started this out of a deep frustration for the disrespect in Italian football and no content there, and we decided to make the change.
So we actually started off with Twitter. We just simply translated Italian news and turned them into English. We slowly started getting traction, and we knew we hit something, so we started spreading to other social media platforms so it could be everything Italian football.
The thing that makes us different and gives us our X factor, if you would, is that we really are the total consumer of our product. We understand what works and we understand what doesn't work because this is what we love. We really believe that the biggest investment that we've made, even if it sounds cliche, really is our time and the effort that we've put into this. We are totally invested in this 24/7, 365 days of the year, whether we're on the train coming to school, whether we're eating dinner, or whether we're in class. Sorry, professors. Yeah, sometimes we're always working on this opportunity, and we really believe that that's what's made us different.
So it was very hard balancing everything in the beginning. I mean, we had SFC, we had school, we had our personal jobs, and we had our business, Italian Football TV. And we were getting money through our personal jobs, but it wasn't fulfilling our entrepreneurial spirits. So we knew we had to take the leap of faith and quit our jobs. And I think that was the best decision that we have ever done.
Yeah, and having done that, we've achieved some small but relatively big success for us. We have over 50,000 followers across all of our social media platforms. We just came back on Tuesday from Italy to work with a professional team who saw what we're doing. They said, you're doing something different in a new market that we can't. Come over here, work with our players. So we just came Back Tuesday. One of our videos went viral, over 500,000 views. It was covered globally by all TV stations. We had another video that went top trending worldwide on YouTube, and our channel currently has over 1.4 million channel views.
So the big question, what are we going to be doing with our investment? We want to give the money literally back to our fans, our audience, the reason why we started Italian Football TV. And we narrowed it down to 3 things. We want to bring in more employees to put in even more work on our social media. We want to up the production, our studio, so we can get more equipment to put the quality videos that we do. And last but not least is cover travel expenses for when we work with the Italian soccer teams and all the players that our fans absolutely love.
The revenue model that we want to follow is to get sponsors and companies on our channel to sponsor our videos, companies that align with our vision and also provide value to our fans, which are the most important thing. And I know maybe not many here could relate to Italian football, but it really is a deep issue and it's so close to us and to our fans. And while we were preparing for this presentation last night, we got a message and we just want to share that to you to conclude this. Understand that what you guys are doing is not just inspiring to Italian soccer fans, but to anyone who wants to follow their dream. The joy you're bringing me from your awesome videos is more than you could understand. I respect and love you guys so much for what you're doing, and just know I'm your biggest fan. I look up to you guys so much, the sky is the limit for IFTV. I got bullied in high school, and my life pretty much sucked. You guys came onto the scene, and your videos were like a getaway for me to actually enjoy and appreciate stuff. Thank you guys.
Marco, come si fa?
Tutto a posto.
È bello giornata, eh? Obviously, your passion is motivating. But, you know, let's talk business now, all right? Your revenue model is, you know, companies that will advertise on your platform. Your milestones are beyond impressive. Let's talk about scale. You know, is there Polish 2O soccer? You know, what are your plans beyond this?
Well, just to mention the revenue model, we actually had 2 companies reach out to us to sponsor our stuff. And they were companies that didn't line up with our vision and they weren't good enough, so we didn't take that. But yes, to scale, we think that even being almost like an agency to these soccer teams who can't do the content in English like we can, because we understand the market, we think that that could be an opportunity to sell to them also, in addition to our channel.
Could you elaborate when you know, on TV? How do you deliver that? You know,
how do we deliver it through YouTube?
Got it.
And we're just creating videos almost every day and around stuff that people care about. You know, with our following, we understand from the feedback, you know, reading every comment and understanding what people care about, and we tailor our content towards that.
So I agree. The enthusiasm is very palpable. Like, I can definitely feel it. And so I wanted to just kind of more of a concrete, wanting to get into the nit of how are you currently leveraging this 50,000 followers and 1.4 million views? How are you leveraging your market financially? Like, is there some kind of turnaround into folks who are seeing and viewing, hooking up into some kind of product line, or how are you in the moment while you're looking for investors for sponsorships, bringing in funds?
Well, we're actually trying to do through every social media. So we're doing Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, you name it. And we're getting like messages and stuff. So we want like maybe an ad on our thing, a sponsorship that could work with us, which people reached out to us. So I think that's the biggest thing biggest way we can make money on that.
And another way is just through Google's AdSense program on YouTube. Based off the views that you get a small amount. You know, we've made some money off the video that went viral, nothing significant. I think with the brand, it's better. And we're also just starting to create some merchandise because people are like, we just want something that says Italian Football TV on it. So we're also working on that right now too.
Beautiful. And then who are your competitors? Is it going to stay mainly online? Are you trying to go ESPN style? Like, what are your goals?
Definitely everything that you said, ESPN style, is something that motivates us thinking about that. Actually, recently, there's been someone else who's jumped online on YouTube and tried to do this. We were the first ones to do it on YouTube, but there's no one that does it through every social media. We really target that younger market. 18 to 35 is our 75% of our market, and there's no one who's doing it on Snapchat or Instagram and Facebook, yes, and YouTube now, it's just starting, but we really hit that younger audience.
And that's what the professional teams right now, the Italian teams, are looking for. They're making English accounts. They want to broaden their aspects. That's why they called people like us over to go over there. And yeah, exactly. make some videos for them for exposure in the United States and Australia and Canada.
Beautiful. Well, maybe my comment would be, because I love the enthusiasm and I think it immediately magnetized me, I'm sure others in the room as well, would just be to funnel. Like, all of these folks are coming in, they're seeing, once they're hooked, what else is there that is going to kind of streamline them into this brand, right? So you funneled them in, and then now once they're there, and there's some kind of an ask. So you've pulled them in, they are following you. Now what is the ask? How are they going to say, now I'm officially showing that I'm supporting, in addition to making a comment? So that would be my comment, was just kind of figuring out on another level, what would be the ask financially, so that you can kind of turn them into consumers.
Well, actually, like you said, as soon as we keep bringing in people, that's what Google ads do. As the more people you have, the more revenue you get. Plus, if they get the merchandise, that's another way that we can get money financially.
And luckily, like, we don't have to beg for money from our fans, just get $10 from them. We really want like a brand to help, because their time is more valuable than money, So them viewing our stuff means more to us than just giving us $10 for a hat or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Let me start off by saying you guys are so smooth. My daughter's a freshman. Stay away. I like the idea. It's something that you love. That always helps. And if the old expression, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I didn't, to your point, I didn't get really the feel for the dollars coming in, or, how you make this I get it at the end of the day. But a little bit more of that, dollars and cents. I think your presentation really swayed toward the enthusiasm and the concept. But, I like what you guys had to say. I think you could turn it into a moneymaker. And just if you guys want to reach out, I have a client that has a Portuguese soccer station out of Newark that maybe, you could go there, check it out, see what they do, and, maybe get some airtime for, an Italian segment. It might be a shot.
That'd be amazing. And just to note your comment about the financials, with the company that reached out to us and said, we want to sponsor your video, just off one video, if we would have taken that, product we didn't believe in, which we didn't do, an app that we didn't like, we probably would have made $2,000 from just that one video. And we made a week's worth of videos over there, and we just couldn't do it just for ourselves.
We don't look for the short term. We look to the long term. That's why we want everything premium. We want our name to be everywhere, and we're striving for the long term goals. So IFTV could be the #1 for soccer.
Thank you.
Great.
So we're coming up to our last contestant. He is a freshman, and I think you're a business management major. Leo George, and Making in the Mecca.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Thank you for asking. I'm doing good, too. So my name is Leo Jorge, and this is Making It in the Mecca. So let's backtrack a little bit. When I was 15 years old, I was in love with basketball. I noticed that there was a lack of educated coaches, and not academically educated, but just as in the game and relating it to life in the New York City community. So I noticed a lot of wasted potential and broken dreams because of this misdirection. So in 2014, I founded Advice B-Ball, which is a Twitter account, which I started on Twitter. It's now a little bit bigger than that. That I give basketball and life tips, but combine them in one. So sometimes it's more basketball specific, sometimes it's more life specific, but I like to combine them both so you can use basketball as a tool. Since inception, I have gained 33,000 followers and have generated over 12 million impressions. As a current NCAA certified basketball scout, my job is to travel around the country and to help high schoolers receive free education through basketball. And throughout the years, I've experimented different ways to positively influence basketball players and the youth community. So my biggest project from positively influencing them is Making It in the Mecca. So New York City is considered the Mecca of basketball. And Making It in the Mecca is all about young basketball players trying to succeed in this city, succeed, AKA make it in this crazy city. So it's an online documentary series that was first on YouTube. It's still on YouTube, but it was first about me, following my journey as an unsigned senior trying to get a scholarship. But I had a bigger vision. My story is not nearly as interesting as everyone else's, so I decided to expand the series. So episode 3, if you see him right there, his name is Baba. Episode 3, which is now considered episode 1 because my episodes are no longer available because we have a different idea, was about Baba, a young star from Senegal that recently moved to the States. So we followed his journey and his rise because I knew that following him can inspire other kids in New York City and maybe kids from Senegal too to rise in basketball themselves, and there's ways to do it. So on YouTube, we received about 7,000 views in that video, and we got hundreds of shares on Facebook. But those 7,000 really loved it. So like when we went to local basketball events, everyone asked us for pictures. And as the popularity continued to grow, even Nike called me to their offices to speak on behalf of New York City basketball and how they can help contribute to the community. I saw that the new approach can go a long way. So one problem that we've had with making it in the Mecca is low quality due to low budget. And so video cameras and editing equipment, it's all very expensive, but it's not super unrealistic. So I have big dreams and ideas, but I also have to be contest specific. So I know that with like about $1,200, I can have a camera, which I don't have, and I can start recording instead of relying on other people or borrowing old digital cameras that I no longer have access to. So all I really need is a camera to carry on and continue the success and grow it. I saw that the idea works, so I want to carry it on as professionally as possible within a realistic budget. And so the growth opportunities, so it's a great thing and a bad thing that projects that are meant to inspire, the growth opportunities are endless, but they're also very unpredictable. So you don't know where it can go, but it can go to amazing places. And a great example is another documentary series that was simply about basketball training, which is titled 10,000 Hours. Actually was picked up by Adidas and it expanded to China. And I mean, the impact was very huge. Like if you go home and watch that, I mean, it affected millions and millions of people. And so my plan is to execute this in the most strategic, intelligent, inspirational, and creative way possible. And I'll let the journey take me wherever it goes, and I'll be comfortable as long as I execute it that way. And so here are 2 pictures just capturing the rich culture of New York City basketball and how many fans truly love this game. I mean, it's really big if you understand it. And here's a message I got the other day. I get like these like maybe every other day. Damn, bro, I just saw one of your videos. You're an inspiration. Keep balling like you do, bro. Crying emoji, 100 emoji, basketball emoji. And that's about it. Thank you.
Leo, a former AAU basketball coach. I coached from 3rd grade to a sophomore in high school. There's scars on my eyes that come from basketball on courts in Brooklyn. I love your passion, but what problem are you solving besides, I'd rather hear you me saying what I think you're trying to do.
Well, the problem is solved more in the whole big brand advice B-Ball more than making it in the Mecca. The problem is the lack of education where I give advice and I do that. So one of my ways, I have multiple ways of solving that problem, and the biggest way is making it in the Mecca. So when a lot of kids watch this, they start, wow, I could do that, I could follow that path. So when they're following that path, they start to do basketball in the correct way instead of doing silly things or posting dumb things on social media. They get to see like, okay, Baba did it this way. Let me start doing it this way. Okay, the next episode, this kid did it this way. Let me do it this way. So they see the correct way to do things and the better way to do it instead of following. You coached AAU, so you know there's a lot of silly coaches out there, and there's a lot of, so they have to see like the more proper way to do it, and maybe the way to use basketball as a tool for life.
So, Leo, I'm hearing more of a social conscience rather than a profitable organization. Am I correct?
Right. And Professor wanted me to touch on that as well. This is totally social. I'm a social entrepreneur. That's what I am. And this is completely nonprofit as well. I'm not doing this to make money. I don't have any revenue model, or I'm doing this just to inspire. And nonprofits can make money in different ways, as you all know. But this is not for revenue. This is nonprofit, and this is for social entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. So I like the name Making It in the Mecca. That jumped out at me immediately. And I definitely have someone that I want to connect you to. He's in LA right now, but when he's back, I think it might be a good connection. So I'll give you my card. But as far as I'm trying to follow, so I've been doing coaching now for over a decade. So I'm trying to follow the advice, the B-ball, and kind of the merger of the two. So am I hearing you correctly that it's a coaching series on one hand and a documentary series on the other? Are those the two wings of this?
Well, maybe I didn't really explain it as properly and try to fit it in 4 minutes. But So Advice B-Ball is the bigger brand. It started on Twitter, where I mainly just give advice. And I just put out tweets, put out Instagram posts where it's advice connecting like life and basketball stuff. So that's the bigger brand. And within that brand, I do different projects, like stuff like that, to try to reach out in a better way than just tweets. So this project has been the biggest project I've done under it, which is a documentary series. And then Advice B-Ball is just a brand where it's mainly a social media brand where I just put out content. And this is just the biggest content that I've had that I need some funding to support.
Got it. And so just to clarify, the coaching that you're providing is more so tips on basketball, and the life part of it is more connected to life experiences specifically to basketball. Is that?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So like I would say, use basketball as a tool to unlock this, in this way, like different things like that.
Okay, understood. And then, I had a similar question to revenue, but I know you said the point of this is not necessarily to make money. So are you looking for this to be a sole proprietorship where it's something where you're planning on bringing in revenue in another way? I'm just thinking for this, because this is a competition, and so you're telling us like you would purchase this, and then you're going to be buying this equipment and turning it around. So what is the return on the investment? Like, you are purchasing this, how will you, as the camera breaks down, the video breaks down, how are you in the future going to be ensuring that even if it's just you, going to be able to replace said camera as it devalues?
Well, as a nonprofit, I mean, you can ask for grants, different ways like that. But what I really trying to do is just get the equipment I need now and carry it on. And I know this isn't the best way, but to try to see different ways that can expand. But I know that as a nonprofit, you can ask for grants and different ways if you need it. Like I said, there's a million different things. Like I said, that one got picked up by Adidas, and I know they pay them a lot of money for that. But I just want to start it up and then see how can I expand it from there with as minimal cost as possible, so there's not that much loss.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think if you could really emphasize or focus on what benefits this could provide to a lot of people, I think there are a lot of sources of capital, including the NBA and probably was it the NCAA? I think they would love to be involved in trying to coach kids along through the process, not only from a sports technique perspective, but from a educational perspective. Did you ever see the video on Lenny Cook, Showtime?
Yeah, Lenny Cook.
I mean, there are a lot of lessons in there that I'm sure this kid, it's a tragic story, and he was probably lacking some of the advice and life coaching that you may be looking to provide. So
right.
Just really focus down on what you're trying to accomplish, and then maybe even fine-tune it where you could get some funding from some of the big organizations that have to deal with a lot of these kids coming out of high school.
Right, and that's why I'm trying to provide a little bit more content, so I can approach them with more stuff, so that because they want to see like more solid instead of just one video and a couple. Like, I just wanted to approach them with more stuff, but yeah, definitely, and thank you for that.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
For fan favorite, Italian football TV is winning $250. I guess they're buying you guys lunch later.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming to the event today. I want to thank the judges for taking your time. You asked great questions. You're so focused. I have a feeling some of you are going to go on the side and make some investments here afterwards. I want to thank the center, Dr. Anderson, Ida, Mary G, for working so hard on this, for bringing these guys here. And then I want to talk a little bit about each of these guys and gals, because they all are really winners. They really presented great pitches. And the thing that I think is special about what they did is it came from their hearts. It came from deep inside their hearts. And these business ideas, some of them are social, some of them are pure for profit, but they really are a piece of them. And they shared a piece of their lives, not only up to now, but where they're going to go going forward. And I think that's special. So I'd like to say thank you to each of you for sharing a piece of yourselves. It was really, it was pretty cool. And I know you're going to do great no matter what happens here. Okay. Okay, in third place, $750, Michael and Marco. Congratulations, guys. That's you can't fit that in the slot. Second place for $1,000, John Rodriguez. Okay, and our first place winner is Sydney Bell for $1,500. Well done.